There were some scary moments at University Medical Center today as a woman opened fire near the emergency room.
New Orleans police say the shooting happened just outside the emergency ramp at UMC. In the aftermath, 2 innocent bystanders were wounded. Tom Trung joins us live now from UMC with the latest on the shooting. Scary situation for everyone there.
Charisse, New Orleans police arrested the suspect shortly after getting a call of an active shooter at UMC. Now, normally this is the place where victims of shooting are taken to get treatment, but today it became the scene of a shooting. Shortly before 11:30 this morning, gunfire broke out at University Medical Center. UMC went into its active shooter protocol. Employees were told to find shelter. New Orleans police responded, prepared for an active shooter situation.
Upon their arrival, they were able to determine it was not an active shooter, but in fact, a domestic incident in which a couple had a disagreement on argument, and the female obtained a weapon and fired several shots at her male companion.
Police Superintendent Shaun Ferguson says the woman missed her target, but the bullets ended up hitting 2 innocent bystanders.
We have 2 victims as a result of this shooting. A 55-year-old male sustained a gunshot wound to the left shoulder, and we have a 55-year-old female who sustained a gunshot wound to the right hip. Both are in stable condition. We do not believe that these are life-threatening injuries at this time.
The shooting took place just outside of the emergency room, near the ramp leading to the entrance. Police say the woman who was wounded was hit before entering the hospital. The other victim was in the lobby when he got hit. Police say some of the shots went through the glass. Police quickly arrested the woman. What led up to the shooting is a question they're hoping the man who was arguing with the suspect can answer.
No, he's not under arrest, but we do have him detained to interview him to give more information as to why or what was the reason that all this occurred.
Now, according to a statement from UMC, that argument between the suspect and the man began off campus. The shooting protocol, the active shooting protocol, was in effect here for about an hour, but shortly after, operations went back to normal. So far, police have not identified any of the people involved in the shooting. Reporting live from UMC, Tom Trung, Eyewitness News.
Hopefully we can get some more answers as to why the shooting happened. Tom, thanks so much for that update.